I've put about 40 hours into the Gray Zone Warfare preview. I've done a lot of questing. I've leveled up traders. I've modded guns. I've goofed around. I've infiltrated the enemy. I've done devious and dirty deeds and heroic deeds as well. But, and this may surprise some people given the buzz I'm hearing in some circles around, I think I've mostly PvP'd. In 40 hours, I'd say 60% at least was spent in some form of PvP. But I'll get into that. This video is about the good, the bad, the potential, and what I think a lot of people are getting wrong about Gray Zone Warfare. I've been in a fever dream the past few days, just playing constantly, which I think is a good sign. You could probably tell by my voice. It's almost gone. I think without even trying, I think I sound like Terry Winkler. I want to start out with the good stuff. And there's a lot of good stuff. This is the biggest section. I want to start with this because if there's any overall takeaway from the Gray Zone Warfare preview so far, it's that we should be excited. It's positive. Especially after, what was it, the day before, that game that launched like a couple months ago. Oh God, that was like a real kick in the. This is not that. This is something to be excited about. First and foremost, I think my favorite part of this is the adventure. I play a lot of DayZ, play a lot of Tarkov, but DayZ's always had the edge for me because of the adventure. There's a little more of a sense of adventure. A little more of that RP PvP that I think is that sweet spot. So let me do it this time, all right? Cover me, cover me. Listen, I have a little gift from my family. How could you do this to me?
You should have seen the smoke. It literally like pushed him out the door. That was
I've
insane.
been graced. I'm never trusting you again.
Oh, he's dead. There's 2 dead guys in here.
No way. Holy
Oh! All right, boys. Listen, let's feast. And Lemon and I try to do our PvP in Tarkov, and we have a lot of fun, but sometimes it feels like we're forcing that into a game like Tarkov, whereas a game like DayZ, it sort of naturally has that element. I feel like Gray Zone fits more into the DayZ category than the Tarkov category. It's a more adventurous, long-form game. It's not these short bursts of these raids. It's got a lot of potential for adventure. This is yours now, all right? Protect it. It's my grandfather's Glock.
I'm gonna die with this Glock. You're gonna die with that.
No. And like I said, that makes for at least my style, the RP potential is higher. And I mean, you guys that watch our channel know we like to RP, we like to goof around. That's sort of our sweet spot. So, but we also like to PvP. We want to kill people, and we want to be goofy while we kill people, and that's what we want. And this game, it does it. The gunplay, it's solid. I mean, I have not really many complaints. It feels good. The guns feel punchy. You know, there's some games where the guns just feel like toys, and this game, especially like just the raw AK when you fire that thing, it feels powerful. Now the AK kind of sucks right now, but it feels powerful. That's the key, right? the actually making it better is just twisting some knobs, but they got the feel right. And the gun modding, so far, there's not a ton of guns out for the game right now, but what there is, it seems promising. There's a lot of mods, a lot of rails. It's that, remember when the first time you get into Tarkov, and there's just so much stuff and you don't know what it is and it's super confusing, but that's actually like, in the end, once you really learn the game like Tarkov, that's one of the best things about it. All the limitless potential to mod your guns. It seems like we're heading that direction with Gray Zone. There's a lot of mods that the vendors sell for the guns that are there, and that's something that over time is only going to increase. Speaking of Tarkov, The vendor system that's the biggest similarity to Tarkov. A lot of people compare this to Tarkov. We'll get into that later. It's nothing like Tarkov, the actual gameplay of it. People that say it's a clone, they just don't know what they're talking about. Like, full stop, period, no debate. Anybody that says this is a Tarkov clone, donkey brain. It's the only. It's a case of the donkey brain. I don't know. I don't know how else to put it. That being said, the one thing that really is a lot like Tarkov is the vendors and the way you level the vendors. You level the vendors. They unlock more loot with the vendors. The vendors are the quest givers. That whole system, very similar to Tarkov, and I think it works great. I love it. I have no complaints. I want to see more games with that kind of system. I love that about Tarkov, and I don't think that that's a diss. That Grayzone has pretty much just taken something really great that works from Tarkov, and they've put it into this game. I love it. I also love the persistent map. Now, like I said, this is something that's more like DayZ than like Tarkov, whereas the map always exists. If you die, you can go back and get your loot. Doesn't always work out, you know. Often it doesn't work out, but that's the fun of it, right? You know, there's always a risk of losing everything in these type of games, and there needs to be that risk of losing everything. Otherwise, everything just becomes too cheap. And while I don't think that it's as brutal as DayZ or Tarkov when you die, I do still think death hurts. Death hurts, especially if it's in the middle of a PvP battle. You're gonna have to fully kit if you come back, and if you fully kit, you're not gonna be able to get all your loot back because you're not gonna be able to carry it. So that's a good thing. Death should hurt. The persistent map allows for a different flow than you're gonna get in Tarkov, and you know, the fact that you can gear up right off the bat makes it a different flow than something like DayZ. I don't know if anybody ever played the Stalker Z server in DayZ, but that's probably the best comparison to Relay. The style, the sort of the pace of this game is more like that. We were fighting over airfield for like 3 or 4 hours, or fighting over, like, I've been into like PvP battles that last hours of back and forth of this, you know, we take the upper hand and then they take the upper hand, and it's back and forth, and that's so much fun. You don't get that in Tarkov, you don't get that in DayZ. This is something different. It's not like either of those. Speaking of the map is beautiful. It looks great. It seems to be laid out pretty well. I wish I had more POIs, and that's something that I'm sure will come with time. But as it is right now, the map, the cities, the locations that are there are really cool, really fun, well designed. They look great. They feel great. They're beautiful. I love the map. I love the map, and there's plenty of room to add stuff. There's a lot of jungle out there, so there's plenty of room for them to slowly add more POIs, and hopefully, you know, over time, the map's just going to become more and more and more full. And I think it's a perfect layout for that to roll out over time. And I mentioned the questing before, and the first few quests, it's all sort of centered around this town right near your faction's safe zone. But as you get further into the quest lines, all the quests bring you out into contested territory. It's territory where the other factions are also going to have quests there. And I love it. Eventually, there becomes a point where you can't be like, oh, I'm going to quest or PvP. If you quest, there's a high chance you're going to get into a fight. In fact, I would like, at least where everybody's sort of leveling at the same rate right now, feels like there's a few towns if you go to, it's almost like a 75 to 85% chance you are going to get into a fight. And I've been comparing this a lot to DayZ and Tarkov, and everybody's going to, and I know that's maybe not fair in certain respects, but it is the way it is. But the reality is, it's not a clone, and this is a great thing. I didn't know what to expect. I would have been happy with a Tarkov clone or a DayZ clone if it was done well. I would have been happy with that for Grayzone. But to my, I guess, surprise, it's neither. It's a new thing. I think if they play their cards right, this game will be an addition to like the DayZs and the Tarkov. It's not going to replace either one. It's just going to be a new game that appeals to the same crowd. That I think is going to be, it's theirs to screw up. They've got a lot going for it. I'd put my money on this becoming really special. I mean, it's already in such a great spot, and it feels new, it feels fresh, so that's a good thing. It's not a clone. No matter what people say in the comments, they don't know what they're talking about. Full stop, they don't know what they're talking about. If that's you, you think it's a clone, you don't know what you're talking about. Period. That's it. Now for the bad. As much as I've had a blast the past few days, the reality is there are some really, really big issues, and a lot of minor issues, and a lot of issues that are like guaranteed to be solved just with time. But let's go through them. The main one I think you're going to hear everybody talking about, or I guess there's probably like 3 that you're going to hear everybody talking about, right? But the big one, that's especially, this is the 4th day into the preview, and I can tell in people's voices, it's getting to them. It's starting to take a toll on their soul. It is the LZ infill camping. Now, you may think, well, there's extract camping in Tarkov. It's the same thing. Not even close. Imagine if you got camped when you spawned into Tarkov. Imagine spawning in, and before you could even move, somebody gunned you down because they were just waiting at your spawn point. That's what this is. The helicopters take you to different preset LZs, and everybody, but all the factions have essentially the same LZs. Not essentially, I think exactly the same LZs. And so they know where it is, and you can't, when you're on the helicopter, you can't shoot, you can't move. The helicopter lands and it drops you all off, and there's nothing you can do if an enemy's there. Now, maybe the enemy's not camping there, maybe they just landed there too, but be that as it may, you're just out of luck. If you land and you see an enemy sitting there just looking up at you, you know there's nothing you can do. They are going to kill you. And I mean, of course they're going to kill you, because if they don't, you'll kill them. And then some people are intentionally, ratting the LZs, which, if it's allowed, they're going to do it. There's not going to be some honor system. And why would there be? I mean, if it's in the game, people are going to assume that it's part of the game. I've done it. I've done it. Listen, sometimes I've just been in the area. Sometimes I made myself in the area. I'm not innocent. I'm not saying I'm innocent, okay? I'm just saying listen, it's getting hot in here. Is it getting hot in here? We love rats here. I'm a rat, okay? I'm a rat myself. But even as a rat, I'm just saying this is too much cheese. You know what I'm saying? This is too much cheese. There needs to be a little bread. All right, a little less cheese, a little more bread on the helicopter landings. And to be fair to the devs, it's hard to know how certain things are going to be received or used by the community before it's actually played on like a bigger scale. So hopefully this playtest shows people like, okay, we thought maybe people would, I don't know, use the honor system, which obviously that's never going to happen. But no, we need a solution to this. We need a real solution to the infill camping, and it can't, like, the solution can't just be run. I heard somebody say, one of the devs said, like, if you don't like it, then just run to the location. That's not the solution. The other big thing I think you're going to hear a lot about is the desync, or the tankiness of the scavs. I think those things are probably combined together. You'll put just an insane amount of rounds into just a normal ass scav, and he'll tank 5-6 headshots. He's just wearing a baseball hat, and you've got your tactical gear. You're fully kitted up, drilling him in the face, and the shots just aren't registering, or there's desync or whatever. PvP, it seems like a little better, but it's still super desyncy. This is a normal problem for a game in like pre-alpha. Nothing to be worried about here. I'm sure they're aware of it, but you got to mention it because you can't play this game without that being an ever-present sort of shadow following you around. You know what I mean? But speaking sort of tied to that is the AI reminds me of early Tarkov, when the AI was dumb as a doornail, and so to make the AI challenging, the devs just gave them hacks. That's what there's a feel where the scavs, for lack of a better term, are not very bright, but they all have wall hacks and they often just aimbot you. You have to hit them with a baseball hat 6 times in the head for them to die, and you have the most expensive helmet in the game, and they just one-tap you from 100 yards away. It's not great. It needs some work. Again, Tarkov, I think the scavs in Tarkov are in a pretty good spot. It took them years to figure out that balance. So this is another thing I think no need to worry about. I think it's just gonna, it's probably gonna be annoying for a little while, even on early access. I doubt they're gonna have this magically fixed by the time the game releases to everybody. But it's a big deal. As long as they fix it eventually, as long as they're not delusional about it, and they actually are aware of, like, this can't be a long-term solution to just give AI hacks and give them 7 million HP. That's not a good way to do difficulty, especially in like a milsim game like this. I'm sure they're aware of that. I'm sure it'll be fine. Another quick one, the noises, the helicopter noises, the constant frogs. It's way too loud. They just need to turn it down or everybody's gonna go insane. I don't need to say much more about that, but I feel like I dream. When I dream, I hear frogs and helicopters, and it's going to drive me mad. Next thing is the factions. The factions are pointless. They're just pointless. There's nothing to them. All the quests are the same. The starting towns are copy-pasted identical, which I really don't like. That's probably my one big gripe about the map. There's no point to the factions right now other than just being the system for PvP, which, on one hand, it is fun, but I don't know. I have thoughts on the factions. Like, there's a lot of people I would love to play with. This play test is mostly streamers, and like all the streamers I follow, like 95% of them went CSI. And I went Mithras because of a few key people that I really want to play with went Mithras, and so we went Mithras. I knew that it was going to be a bummer, but man, it still is a bummer to see all these, like, and it's not just for streamers. It's like, remember in World of Warcraft when it first came out, you'd find out, like, somebody you knew, oh, you're playing World of Warcraft too, and then they'd be Horde and your Alliance, or vice versa, and it'd be like, oh, cool, I met a new friend who plays the same game as me. We can never play together. Great. And I also get the other side of the coin, where, like, faction PV, it should be, you should have ownership of your faction. It should be meaningful and not just something you can switch to every faction and it becomes meaningless. So I get both ways, but I mean, I'd be lying if I said I liked it. I don't like it, especially right now where there's no difference. Maybe if there was, like, real differences, make the factions feel unique and something, make there be more to them. I mean, I'm just gonna have 3 accounts when the game comes out, let's be honest, because I want to be able to play with, if somebody says, hey, you want to stream together, like, yeah, I want to be able to just say yes and not be like, oh, what faction? Oh, sorry, we can never play this game together. Like, I don't know, that's just I don't like it. I don't like it because there's no benefit to it right now. The factions are identical. Hopefully they have a lot more in store. I feel like the vast majority, I'd love to see the data. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but I have a feeling 75% of the player base right now, of the streamers, 75% I think went CSI. So they could all play together. I don't blame them. They want to be able to play with each other. So I think everyone went CSI. And that's just going to happen, and when that happens on the other side, that's going to happen too. I feel like CSI and Mithras are going to probably have a good population, and the Lemong or whatever, nobody wants to be those guys. They're like billionaire, like scientists. I don't know, dude. I feel like they need to make some incentive for each faction, or the factions need work. I don't have the solution. I don't have the solution to this. All I know is, as it is right now, the factions kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. I don't have the answer to how to fix that. Or if it even needs fixing. That's sort of just my opinion. I do see the good side of keeping locked factions. And and it is what it is. That's just how I feel about it. That one's probably the most like amorphous one in my mind. Like, I know I'm displeased, but I also know there's good parts. I don't know. You know, maybe tell me, help me in the comments. Help me. Help me understand. Give me a solution, or convince me that it's fine the way it is. Speaking of incentives, there's not a lot of incentive to PvP. It's a lot of fun. The PvP is really fun. Did I mention that in the goods? The PvP is fun. The PvP is really fun. It's intense. It's tactical. It's brutal. It's drawn out in a cool way, and then bam, it's like brutal. You're just dead. I like it. It hits. It works. It's really good. There's not much incentive. Everybody right now, they're just dropping the same gun. Everybody, once you hit level 2 on Gunny, everybody gets this souped up M4. Everybody has the same one. It's just like everybody's got the same gun, same ammo, the same armor, more incentives. And again, easy fix, probably something they've already got in the works. But as it is right now, I'm talking about where the game is right now. Give me a reason to be like more excited. Although, God, it's fun. It's so fun. It's really fun. Here's an easy one. Loot diversity. It's not great right now. Obviously, that's gonna get better. That's not even really a bad. I'm just like, I'm trying to be fair to where the game's at right now. And there's not enough loot. There's not enough ground loot. There needs to be more ground loot. You know, Tarkov has that exciting, when you get that really awesome loot and you're stoked and you just feel good and I gotta get out, I gotta extract. This game doesn't really have that right now. It's just a bunch of food, and the guns are all just sort of the same, easy to get. Even when you kill a player, you know, there needs to be more loot diversity. But again, that's just something that comes with time. That's just where the game's at right now, just so people are aware. But that's something that's guaranteed to be solved just with time. Last little thing I have on the bad is like the gun modding. It seems really cool, but they need sort of a better UI like Tarkov has, when you can put it on the workbench, you can see the gun and you can see the pieces. Because right now it's just like a wall of, and I think Tarkov was like this when it first came out too. It's just the traders have a wall of mods. You don't know what they do. You don't know what they go to. And you have to like literally like double click the gun and pull them out one by one. And it's a little clunky right now. They need a workbench at the hideouts or something. They need something, a little UI to help you build your guns. All right, now for the potential. What's the potential of this game? Is this going to be something that's fun for like 2 weeks and then you move on? I think the game has great bones. It's got really good bones. It's already a blast. Where it is right now, I think it's probably something I would play for 2 weeks and then I'd give it some time. But I think the potential of it is to be a Tarkov or a DayZ, a long-form game where you play hundreds, thousands of hours of it. It has that potential. It's got the bones, it's got the framework, it's got everything working in its favor. It's just the devs would just have to fumble for it. Like the way they're going, if they just keep going, it's gonna be great. They'd have to really screw up for this not to be like that tier of game. I really think this game is going to be great. That being said, I don't know, maybe there's information about this, I should have looked it up, but I think another potential of this game that could just skyrocket it, I really hope they open this game up to third party. Like the way DayZ does, where you can have mods, you can have third party maps, you can have people making their own maps, making their own versions, they can have their own servers with their own server rules, and then there'd be the official servers and the official maps. Just like, I think they need to go the DayZ route, not the Tarkov route with this. I understand why Tarkov doesn't do it. It's not really that type of game, although that could be fun in a way, but that's a whole different thing. I think they need to go the DayZ route with this, because while the map is great, I can't imagine myself playing on this map for like, after like 100 hours, you know, or streaming this game for like a year. I can't imagine if Chernarus was the only map, and it was for a while, and it drove me crazy. One of the reasons DayZ survived so long is because of the third-party community, and this game has so much potential, like so much potential in the third-party sphere. Oh my God, third-party map makers doing like different mods, adding different things to the factions, different rule sets to the maps. There's so so much they could do here. I really hope that they're not holding on to the code and not allowing third-party stuff, workshop content. I don't actually know. They may have already released their, whether they are or not on that. Let me know in the comments below. That just popped into my mind as like, oh God, please, please have them. If they do that, this game will immediately be a staple game, because then that gives the devs time to build their own stuff and they don't have to be rushed, because there's all this other third-party content coming out, building the game's hype up around it, and then when they come out with a big official patch, everybody goes back to the official servers, has a great time, and then once that sort of gets old, it gives the devs time to do it right, and they can go. That's how DayZ does it, although that's how DayZ did it until the past like 2 years of DayZ updates have somehow just made the game worse and worse, but that's a whole nother thing. I'm not going to get in, and I'm not going to get into that. Another great potential, and this may be a personal thing, but the RP PvP, my favorite genre, RP PvP. So dude, so much great potential for goofing, for stories and adventures, and like as a streamer, like the content in this game is going to be so entertaining. It's going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be a fun game to play on stream. You know, some games I love to play, but I know I can't stream this because it's just boring as hell to stream. But this game, I think this game has some great RP PvP potential. There's going to be the Juiceman and Terry Winkler. I think we're going to have a good time. And all that to say, I think a really great thing about this game, now that we've played it, is it's not going to replace DayZ. It's not going to replace Tarkov. It's not a Tarkov killer or a clone. It's its own thing. It's just a new thing, and that's great. It's great news. I mean, like I said before, I would have been happy with a well-made clone, to be honest, just to mix it up. But thankfully, it's not. It's its own deal, and that's awesome. I love it. I know this video is getting long, and I probably should have written this out to be more concise. I'm just sort of speaking off the top of my head, but the last section here is what I think people are getting wrong. All right, what are people getting wrong, including the big streamers? And I'll start with that. All right, I'm going to start with that, and this is no trash to them or their opinions, but I think a lot of them are wrong. And like I said, almost all, at least the ones I follow, all went CSI. Like, the vast majority went CSI. And I've been watching some of these streamers, and they go around the map, and they're like, oh, it's kind of slow. I wish there was more PvP. When I play, dude, I am inundated with PvP. I have been in like PvP battles for like 5 hours solid, straight, no breaks, full on, full throttle, tense PvP. I am PvP'd out of my mind. And I think it's because I'm fighting CSI. I'm fighting the Zerg. They may have a full team, 16 people each faction on a server. And they may get in their server and they see 16, like, oh, cool, full server. There may be 5 total between the other 2 factions people on that server, with 16 CSI trying to fight them. And you can actually see this when you go to the server list. You can see how much each faction has. And the first one is the Lemang, the middle one is Mithras, and the last one is CSI. You can see that CSI, they've got too many people. It's unbalanced. So no wonder some of those people think there's not enough PvP, because they joined the Zerg faction. I'm sorry, and I don't blame them. Like I said, they want to be able to play with their friends. I think that's something the devs need to fix, because I'm kind of like, I go back and forth whether I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't go there so I have tons of PvP action, but I'm also bummed because I can't play with a bunch of people I would have liked to play with. It's a double-edged sword, but either way, from my end, from Mithras, from a Mithras boy, there's a lot of PvP. It is not slow. It is tense. It is astronomically more tense, more like action than like DayZ. Obviously not as much as Tarkov though, because Tarkov is a match-based, round-based shooter. Obviously, this is a persistent world. It's not going to have that much PvP, but if you want PvP, you can find it. You can find it, period. If you want to go out for PvP and you go to the right LZ, you will find it. If you are, like, at least I find it. And if you're not, I think it's probably because you joined faction with too many people or you're watching a streamer that joined a faction with too many people. And you might say, gosh, this game looks boring. It looks slow. Well, that's because there's 100 people searching for 3 people. You know, like, come on. Not literally, but you get my point. The other donkey brain thing I hear people say in comments, this is not really some streamers say, but people say it's like a Tarkov clone. That's so stupid. I get have people were saying that before they saw like this week. But if you've been watching streams and videos about it and you still say that, nobody should ever listen to you about any topic at all, because you should just not have any more opinions. Maybe just like, I don't know, just enjoy your life and just maybe not have any opinions, because that's the dumbest. Like, if you think this is a Tarkov clone, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I can't emphasize enough how stupid it is when I see those comments. I think maybe they're just trolling. I hope so. I hope they're just trolls. Hope they're just trolls and they're cracking themselves up about how pissed off I'm getting about them saying that. And the other thing that people get wrong is the game's slow and boring. Again, refer to my earlier thing. I think the factions are just unbalanced right now. I think a lot of people are having a very different experience than I've been having. The first day was pretty slow because everybody was learning the game, but ever since then, it has been balls to the wall. It has been so much fun, so much action. It is not a slow game. It is, again, if you're comparing it to Tarkov, if you're comparing to like Valorant, then Tarkov is slow, right? But come on. All things considered, the game has a great pace. There's action if you want it, and it's great. It's got ups and downs. You know, there'll be a downtime for 10-15 minutes, and then it just bang, it goes off, and then you're locked in a faction battle in airfield for 2 hours. It's fun. It's great. Anyway, those are my initial thoughts. I'm probably going to upload this video and forget and realize that there was something really great that I forgot to add. Really profound, beautiful, profound thought that would have changed lives. That I forgot to add to this video, but that's what it is. I just wanted to get this out because, you know, I know a lot of people can't play it, and so a lot of people are just looking for, like, they're trying to understand what the game is, and that's what this video was. I'm gonna make another video before early access release about like tips on how to get started well, at least in the form of the game it is right now, but that's not what this video is. This is just me rambling about my thoughts so far, about 40 hours in to Gray Zone Warfare, and yeah, we'll see you back out there, right? See you later. I don't know how to end the video. I'm just going to stop talking.
There.
We just have to get out. I don't want to be there anymore either.
I've thrown mini grenades and they're all dead. Not all dead! They're not all dead! Oh, I'm dead!
Oh. I'm telling you, if we went to that fort, we would have been looted out of our minds by now.